Fundamentally, I think there still needs to be the development of the person. Families want someone they can trust.
Yeah, thank you for being part, of our podcast series, where we always interview interesting people. In this case, you're one of our strategic partners. You are the founder of Student Solutions, based in the USA. And can you tell us a little bit about your company and how, you created this venture?
To start, I'm a proud partner. I will say I'm happy to be a partner. And Student Solutions is, something I've wanted to do for a long time. My background is as a school psychologist, so I spent several years in that field, working primarily K through 12 and helping students and families in that area. But I've also, taught at the university level, and I spent a few years with Columbia University where I was helping them with a program where they focused with US students, international students, and it showed me the door essentially for universal education and the families that were interested in more or less providing anything they could for their students and their future education. And that is one of the leading reasons why I wanted to create Student Solutions, which is this global family student consulting firm where I can help families and students, reach their goals depending on what that might be. And I think for each family, it could be a little different.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was your inspiration then to create then your own company because you, let's say, experienced during your own career, let's say, the pitfalls and or opportunities that students might have when selecting the right education.
Yeah, I saw the market. I saw that there was clearly the interest from families across the world to have their children, for this example, have a taste of Ivy League education. But also, I think a lot of families have, different backgrounds, different needs. And sometimes that's looking for the right boarding school. Sometimes that's transitions and moving. And it could be less academic. And sometimes my services are purely on managing stress, managing transitions, working with the family dynamic in that situation. So that's why I do like to lump it as, we're Student Solutions, but we help students and families as a whole. And I think that's an important distinction.
Much broader than just selecting the right education. So there's a psychology factor in there, guiding people. So what type of students or parents then, are you focusing on, and are there regions?
I would say my general, population that I work with most commonly are these high achieving students, and they typically, will come from these higher net worth families as well that are looking for opportunities for their kids. Sometimes they want their child to have the best possible guidance to help them through those years as more of like a mentor occasionally. I'm happy to work with families that, are across the globe. And I think also that's a key reason why I wanted to partner with Boulder is that global footprint is so important for me.
Can you a little bit describe, so once a family reaches out, has a child, or the student themselves reaches out to you and seeks assistance, how does it work?
So each family is different, as you know. My number one thing that I want to do with the family or parents is sit down and figure out, what is your goal? What are you striving for your family, for your children? Where do we want to end up in the end? And then we can work backwards in a way and, really identify what we need to do to reach that goal. And that is typically my number one step to see what the goal is, and then work with the family to really personalize the steps and the interventions we might put in place to meet that goal.
Might intervene and maybe also change course in that. But I assume that you then also need to have a very elaborate network of, let's say, universities or educational institutions, not only in the US, but also on a global level.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. So, and that's sometimes half of the work I do, right, is creating and networking with those universities and keeping those relationships alive. But in addition to that, it's looking at the trends in education and staying very close to the trends of what are universities doing, what are the majors that might be popular in the next several years, what pathways should I recommend versus maybe, would I advise caution? And I think that has changed so rapidly. And for example, when I was deciding a major and what I wanted to do for a career, everything was pointing towards software engineering. That, and not to say that's still not a good career to go in, but I think with the rapid development of AI, I think maybe there's some hesitancy, right? And I never would have thought that just 10 years ago. So that's a good example of looking at the trends of education.
Can you share also is there a success story, based on the experience of a student, that came to you and that you were able to guide successfully and, placed or were able to guide to the right university or education?
I have a few favorites, I think. So I think the biggest piece of, my pillars, right? I have mentorship, I have parent consultation, I have college counseling, I have all those things. Mentorship might be the most important part. A lot of families, a lot of students come to me and they want the best university they can get into. They want the top tier, could be Ivy, could be whatever is the best for them. And that's not always the wrong way to look at it. Of course, you want the best outcome. However, my goal is to find the best fit for each student and for, again, their goals that they want to accomplish. And sometimes it's more or less taking a step back, figuring out what's the best fit for them, location-wise, major-wise. I'd say some of the stories that have come from that have been, reaching back out to me to say, I'm so happy here. This is a really good fit. I'm glad we took the time.
You touched upon it previously with AI, but how do you see then that, technological development and the digital platforms, will that change? If I look at ourselves, within the corporate industry and communication, we also get internal courses. We have people in our company that are actually taking additional courses. It's all online. So how do you see that development, moving?
I think it's changing every day, right? It's evolving every day, and each week we're going to hear a new buzzword and a new accomplishment from, AI and how it's changing. I don't think personally that it is replacing university education. I think it might help adapt and evolve and move these things forward, just like Google and the search engine did, right? I don't think it is changing the way that will fundamentally go to a four-year, college and get into the career field. I do think it needs to be in consideration in everything that we do. If it can help make life easier along the way, or you can use the tools in your career field, I think, fundamentally, I think there still needs to be the development of the person as well as adaptation to the tool.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe that is what they call the emotional intelligence. I think that, I concur with you that maybe the role of education has changed in terms of, it's also about being with human beings, learning how to think, how to analyze, how to communicate with people, and then indeed make use of these technological tools that we are now having and are going to have. So maybe the emphasis is also changing a little bit, in the educational world. Okay, what is now important, because so many things are being replaced. So I feel for that. I mean, we have, being Boulder, we cater to global families, and that we assist with the variety of issues. whether it's confidentiality planning, whether it's succession, whether it's wealth planning that we do together with financial institutions. But in many cases, what we see is that a lot of these families, yeah, of course, they need to transition that wealth to their family members. So,
Right.
and they want to make sure that these family members understand how it works. So, what made you, let's say, you know, and that is our, I think, advantage. So, and I would like to know, you know, we came together because there's a good fit. How do you see that collaboration between Student Solutions and Boulder Group?
I think the collaboration we have goes back to one of my key principles, which is working globally and reaching families all across the world that we can. And Boulder obviously has such a great footprint across the globe, whether it's in the US or in Europe or in Asia, and across the world. It's working together to help those families. And in my experience, and you might have similar experiences as well, is that families want someone they can trust. They want a reliable partner that they can work with.
Now, basically, you answered, because I was thinking about the next question, you know, how it would strengthen, let's say, Student Solutions, you know, the partnership with Boulder. But yeah, you've answered it. And I mean, from a Boulder perspective, let me answer that question. I think for us, it's a very value add to have a partner like you, to offer, let's say, the opportunity of guidance of the future patriarchs or matriarchs of families, you know, in that respect. And not only because that's maybe my misconception in choosing the right education, but even more like the mentor role you just described, you know, like the training role, you know, what someone gets confronted with, you know, being part of a family or of a corporate, let's say, owner, you know, and then you are, let's say, groomed to be the successor. So a lot of things. Right. So for us, it makes then sense, you know, besides the, let's say, the financial part, also to touch upon the human aspect. And so I think that is what will strengthen us, let's say, from a Boulder perspective, to work with you. So how do you see this developing, you know, in terms of, you know, choices, sectors, you know, what students need to do?
You know, even with all the developments and all the evolution, I think when it comes down to it, some of the key principles have stayed the same for me, and that's exposure. That's trying new things. You know, the beautiful thing about being 18 to 22 and being that age is, or even younger, just say, you know, 14 and above, for example, is you have all this time to try out everything that you might be interested in. And that's typically my advice, right? Is like, this is your time to explore, to figure out what drives you. You want to, you know, get to university, and especially after university, and find something that doesn't feel like work per se. Obviously, there will always be ups and downs, but find a field, find a, you know, a hobby that you can do and that you love, right? And there's typically a career associated with that. So
thank you. I mean, that's a valuable piece of advice, because what you see nowadays, or saw, there's a lot of pressure from society, you know, on young people to go to that particular university or to get that particular grade, to do it in a particular time frame. So what you're saying, take your time, you know, make an educated choice, let's say. Yes. And that also applies then for those families you assist when moving abroad, you know, students, you know, by selecting, let's say, educational institutions.
Yeah, I think it's true abroad, and obviously in the US as well, where it's take your time, reach out, work with, I think that's where I can come in, is work with a professional who can also do a lot of the legwork, right? And researching the different options you want, and then it can be presented, right? It can be offered to you saying, well, this boarding school can offer this location might offer this.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I think yeah, that concludes. As we said, we want to keep it, fine, short, for our clients and prospects and listeners that are having an interest. We advise them to reach out directly to you or to a Balder representative if they want to learn more. And on behalf of Balder and our listeners, Bradley, I would like to thank you for your time, giving us a sneak peek in this complex world of choice that parents have to make, and children looking for a particular choice, which direction they have to go into their life. So on behalf of Balder, thank you very much for your participation, and hope to speak to you soon. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.